In this podcast, myself, Eva Scarpulla, and my colleague, Castillo, converse with transnational author Chérissa Iradukunda, a first-time published author who recounts her migratory experience from Burundi to the Netherlands in her book titled Broken Object. Her book was published in 2023 by Austin Macauley Publishers, and it presents readers with the difficulties experienced by a teenage girl while adapting to her new home and Dutch culture. Furthermore, the book discusses the physical and psychological healing processes that the female characters experience through love, friendship, and writing. Throughout our conversation, Iradukunda lets us in on what being a transnational author means to her. She also tells us about the publishing process of her book and her motivation for choosing English as the language of publication. Lastly, we discuss specific themes related to the plot and characters of her creative novel. We hope that you enjoy listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it.
This episode is part of the Utopia podcast series on European literatures and gender from a transnational perspective.
Hi, Chérissa. Thank you so much for being with us here today. I get the honor of asking you the first question, and this first question has to do with this idea of transnational literature. So one of the motivations of this project is to highlight transnational authors. So we're curious about what transnational means to you and whether or not you consider yourself to be a transnational author.
You're right. I consider myself like a transnational writer because it's shaped by different culture, different entities, and where I'm from, I go ahead and write across the border and figure it out in different shapes, in different countries, in different entities, and it shaped me because it's in every culture, in every country. I don't know, it's even instead of Europe or Africa, you have like different culture, different emotional, the way to react to things, and so that way I find myself realized because that was like, okay, I think I'm that person, and that's why. Well, it was a really good question, and now I'm learning. I'm learning what that word means. But yes, I am.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's an excellent response. I think that throughout this whole process, we're also learning more about what this word means. And every time we talk to a new author or have another conversation about it, our understanding of the term also changes and grows. And it's interesting to see how some people immediately reach to the word and say, yes, that's totally me. And then other people hear it and they're not so sure yet. And it takes a little while to process the term and explore whether or not that's something you identify with. But thank you so much for that response. So our second question is about publishing. And we know that this is your first publication. So we were hoping to hear a little bit about the process that you went through to find a publishing house and the process of editing the book and how you found this.
Well, that process, it was unexpected because I was writing it during lockdown. Because, everybody was the world was on hold and we were back to, we were like doing nothing. And I was like, you know what? I have my diary and, I just want to write a book because I always wanted to write something, but I was, everybody were busy with work. So at that moment I figured out, what, I want to, process. And the moment I start to write, I just, in 3 months, I wrote a book and someone told me, you know what, why don't you just publish it? I was like, I'm not sure because this is very personal. So I submit first to one of the Dutch publisher. They want me to, to translate to Dutch. I was like, well, I don't think I'd want to do that. So one of my friends asked me, what, just submit in one of a publisher in London or in America. The first response I got was from this current publisher. after 2 months, and then I got also second one after I think 1 year. But I was already signed a contract with this current publisher. And the moment I started to publish it, I realized that actually I was too excited. I was too excited to put my voice out there, I just, and I was also starting a new job. And so by editing, I didn't really like recheck everything because, starting new job and, doing what you love to do, it's just, you have to pay your bills. And so I was like, after I published it, I was like, oh, I don't think this was a good idea. It was not it. Because I read it back, because I just some things need to change, some grammars, but I was like, you know what? This is a process of learning. It's my first publisher. I mean, next time I will do better, and I don't regret at all. It's more like I was just hoping more, just take time, but I was just too excited, and of course, it was my first time, so it went smoothly. Editing, everything, they were nice to me. Just I should have done better, but you know what? It's the past, and now we are here with this present. So let's. I was like, you know what? I can move past this and learning from it, and you never know how this goes. So that was it. Yeah. It wasn't hard to find a publisher. I think for me it just was surprise to me because I never published anything. I was like, yeah, oh, that's very, and I didn't get any reject. This is, and I was just too excited. And after that, I was like, you know what? A friend of mine just told me, you know what? Even you have a publisher book, it's hard work. Hanging there, just don't give up. Just keep writing whatever you want, because I know you love to write, and that's where you express your feelings. And then we will see in the future. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. I love how you describe writing as a learning process. I think this is both a very unique way of thinking about it, but also maybe something that is shared amongst a lot of different authors. I think there's a lot of value in having this very raw and honest form of writing, which seems to be something that you value and which motivates your creativity as well, which is amazing. Thank you. So this answer kind of leads me into the next question, which is about language. And you've mentioned language already, but we were hoping you could tell us a little bit more about it. So you come from a multilingual background, and we were wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that background and why you chose to write this book in English. What was that process like, and what motivated that decision? Was it related to the audience you had in mind when writing the book, or more of a personal choice?
Well, that's actually a very good question, because currently I work in a Dutch company. So every time they just like, why you always just speak English, but you do know you speak Dutch. I know I speak my Dutch well, but I told them, like, look, you have like I speak my background is Kirundi, so it's from Burundi. And I learned also French in my country, and I never learned any English because the thing is about it was also I think when I think in English, which is so weird because it's not my mother language. And every time when people ask me why you always just prefer to speak English, I think for me it always makes sense in my head. It sounds very easier. So when I start to write this book, I start writing Dutch, and it didn't make any sense. I was like, that sounds very romantic in my head. It's just language I supposed to learn. Then I started writing French. I was like, yeah, but French is not that great, and my own language is just my own language. And when I came here, I watch a lot of movies in English, and I always like to speak English. So everything started to make sense to my in my head, and also the global language is English. When I read a book, everything seems so easier for me in English, and more like romantic. I find I mean, Spanish or French are all romantic language, but in English seems more romantic language to me, because I think because I also since I was a kid I loved to watch movies in English and loved to speak English, and of course it was also with the audience, and I just wanted to make a voice towards to global, and yeah, therefore I when I started writing English, it seems everything was so easy to write, and it seems so it made sense, and my emotion made also sense in my head, and I was like, you know what, this is it. This is I'm going to write in English, and yeah, it went very easier in English.
It's really interesting to hear why a multilingual author like yourself might gravitate towards a certain language when they're writing. It seems like oftentimes for some authors it can be about external forces, but from your answers it seems like for you it's a little bit more of an internal process where the monologue of writing and creating a story kind of just naturally came out in English, which is really interesting to hear about. It's also interesting to think about it on the level of the language, because English has become so transnational at this point. It kind of has acquired a lot of opportunity for expression within that. And that's something that I'm quite interested in about as well. So it's great to hear your answers. So I think now I'm going to pass the microphone over to my colleague, and she's going to ask you a few more questions about the themes and the genre of your writing, because she's working a little bit more closely with the novel in her own dissertation and research.
Thank you, Eva. And yeah, I can totally relate, Chérissa, to what you were saying, because I feel that my academic or my writing brain is in English, but then my Spanish brain is not so academic, So as Eva mentioned, I have your book as one of my case studies for my dissertation. So my questions are going to be more related towards the content of the book itself. The first one is related to the genre of the book, because also you mentioned in one of your previous answers to Eva's questions and also in the book itself that the contents of the book are really important to you. They're very close. So I wanted to first ask if you consider this book an autobiographical book, autofiction, and if so, how was the process of writing such a personal book? And how does it feel to talk about it? For example, in this podcast, or when you have interviews or with other people that are your readers?
Well, that's a very good question, because I've been asked this question before. It's definitely auto. I always find hard to find this more autobiographical book, which it's most people, they want to write this kind of books, it's when they're I think in their 70s they reach their careers, they're on their pension. But for me it was more I don't really I find myself writing this. It just then I just also create a fiction of this autobiography book. But the process was, when I started writing it, I had my diary, I had my dossier from therapy, and process of writing was hard. It was really hard, and it was also a learning process, and I needed to find myself back. And also it's hard to sometimes talk about it, because it's very vulnerable. It's very vulnerable book for me, because that's why I said it's in my heart. It's dear to me, because while I was doing it, and it took me a long process. Sometimes I just write it, and I just, even next day I couldn't even wake up, because I was like, you know what, that's something I need to process again. Then another day I just wake up or start writing again, because it was a lot of challenge. It was a challenge, and also learning process, and by finding myself. I think to relive again the moment I've been through. It was hard, because sometimes when you're writing, you just find out things you you bury it, like on the way while you're growing, and when you start to write, you start to think, you start to dig deeper into your life, your past, and it's sometimes it's just hard for, I think, for everybody, speaks for everybody. Just it's hard to dig deeper into your past. Some things they're bad, hidden. But for me, it was like, you know what? If I want to write this, if I want to be vulnerable, if I want to heal, if I want to move on, I need to dig deeper. So at that moment, I realized that I was a mess, but I kept writing. Until it was time again to move on. It was not easier. It took me think at least 1 year just to get over that again. But yeah, it truly was a terrific moment for me to write this book. And sometime when it got published, I published it, and I didn't want to even look back, because like I was just afraid again to see the past, to read over again. But I was like, you know what, I did it. Let's read back and see if it was worth to write this book. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's very brave, because people in general, I would think, don't want to go back to those past experiences that were hurtful, and less to publish it, right, and put it out there for other people to read. But I think it's also, as your reader, very nice to see a writer publishing her stories and her thoughts and her feelings into a place where you can also identify yourself and find like a community with the writer and the reader. So I think it's also very liberating. So it's for the reader, it's also a very nice experience. Everything that you share and all the feelings that it also moves in the reader, right? Especially with, Mylene, right, who is like one of the main characters, but there's also a wide range of female voices in the text. If I understand correctly, is Mylene, Josephine, and Bella the same person? Does it represent like different stages of the narrative voice?
Yeah, correct. Eileen and Josephine are the same as a person, but there's one also character is Alicia, but which I didn't put a lot of her, but it's because I realized it when I was writing it. I was like, because I love the name Josephine. Even I realized it when I'm think when I'm writing something, like, okay, who's used Josephine? Milan, indeed, and Josephine are the same. Bella, it's little girl from Josephine and Milan. I was just reading that book yesterday. I was like, why did I create Bella? Bella, it was because I created a Bella with a scars, like a scar on her heart, and I was like, I know why I did it, because I felt that way. I feel like there's this little girl who needed me, who was screaming to me, just letting me out, let me be a kid again, because I need you. And from that moment, I created Josephine. And Josephine is this person who just searching herself and trying to move, to just figure out, like writing the book. And for her was what does it mean to live, to live a life, just to that she needs to give up, that she needs to move on. So therefore she was searching Milan. Milan is in that book. She's very strong. She's her strength. She's her powerful. She's the person who's want to save her. And in her journey, she was just searching, searching Bella, searching Alicia. Alicia is the person I didn't mention a lot. Alicia was the person who is actually a war, like the person who created a war. She didn't want to to be vulnerable. She didn't want to so much, because she said, you know what, I am, I've been through a lot, so I'm gonna hide it. To conquer this world. But and then of course Milan came, and she's everything, and she's all. She's the Bella. She's Ophine. She's all, because Bella is the little girl who was hurt when she was little, and to a certain age, till she was 14, and then she moved to Netherlands, and then start a new life. A new life became Josephine, and Josephine desperately looking for Milan. Like, I need this stronger. I need to find my strength, and she created Milan, and Milan met. And also, then Josephine met Alicia. Alicia wants to hold back what she wants it to be, and I think, and I created those characters out of this saying, like, we all have three faces: the one we show to our friends, and the one we don't want to show to anyone, and the one we just put out there. Just we wanted to, just kind of, when you've been hurt before, and you want to show the world, I'm okay, I'm all right, just creating a wall in front of you, and you just don't want to show your scars or your wounds. You just want to bury all your heartache or your past. And that's what I thought about when I was creating these characters. I was thinking about three faces we want to, we are living in. We all have those three faces, I guess, but at least me.
I have to agree with you. I think it's a very interesting technique. Because, of course, I didn't get it like that when I read it. I did understand that they were connected somehow, that they were the same person. But to hear your explanation, it makes it even more interesting. So hopefully our listeners will go buy your book and read it, because I think it's done very subtle and it's not very obvious. So it also takes the reader some effort to actually connect all the dots, which is really nice. And the other question that we had related to the book was this question of homeness, because this is a very central question in transnational literature. And there's one quote from the book in which Milan is asked how she likes this new country, right, where she is in the Netherlands, and she answers, and I quote, "I am still figuring that out," and end of quote. So to what extent does this reflect your own feelings and relationship to home, to this new country, to what does home mean to you?
That question is always it's always a good question to me, because home for me is where I feel comfortable, where my heart is, where I am surrounding with those I love the most, and it's not a place, honestly. I think at the moment when Milan said, like, I am still figuring it out, it means like you're in this strange country, because when Josephine arrives here, she was she was just young, and she was 14, and then after she lost her parents and her little brother, and everything just seemed so far away, and it was just hard for her to make new friends, a new school, because the language was not that easy. And at that moment, she didn't feel like home. She didn't feel she belongs anywhere, and everything would just start to to disappear in this long tunnel, and still figure out what it means. Like, I just want to feel. It doesn't mean like this place for her was just not the right place. It was for like she wanted to feel like she belongs to somewhere, she belonged to herself, she belonged to her comfortable zone, to belong to her loved ones, and she just find herself back home. And for her, at that moment, it was just hard to live between two way, like this, if she was to go left or right, and she was stuck. stuck because everything was just, too much for her, and still figuring out was just she needs to find a place where she belongs. That's where her heart belongs and where she feels mostly comfortable. So, and well, hopefully she found that way. At least I think.
Yeah, it's a very common topic, what you're saying, right? Like not feeling that one belong here nor there, or sometimes that we belong everywhere, right? Why do we have to just belong to one place if we end up adapting, especially people who travel or also authors who write transnational literature? And this is like a constant topic. So what you were saying is very, very accurate in terms of what we're studying also. And I also live in the Netherlands. That's where I'm based. So yeah, it's interesting to have your culture inside, but then there's another culture outside. And how do you negotiate between those, right? Perfect. Thank you so much, Chérissa, for your answers for this part. And I'll hand in the conclusion to Eva.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's great to hear your own input and your reflection on some of these topics in your writing. I think as academics, we often get caught up in the interpretation of these texts from more of a distant perspective as readers and as critics. And I think it's really important with some of these more contemporary works, if you have the opportunity to actually speak to the author themselves and hear from their mouths kind of what motivated the writing and how they interpret their own writing after it's been published. So our last question is kind of about your future. So we were wondering if you wanted to tell us a little bit about any upcoming projects you might have. Are you planning on continuing writing and publishing? And do you have anything that you're currently working on or planning to work on in the future? We'd love to give you an opportunity to tell both us and our listeners a little bit more about anything that you have pending.
I almost finished my second book, but it's not going to be this word is the autobiographical book. I think I did create some characters from this current book, just in a different I think in like more like a thriller, more like a fiction book, and try to see if I am able to do that. Somehow I create all my own story and just fictionalize and with different characters. And at the moment I'm busy with two because I'm trying to see which one I like better. If I like drama better or I like thriller better. So I'm stuck. So I'll definitely I will write more in the future. So I have to find a way, to have my balance between my work and writing, because I love writing, and it's something I always wanted to do when I was a kid. So hopefully next year I'm able to, to show this new journey to another publisher or the current publisher. So that's in my passion. So I am definitely. I would definitely keep writing.
Amazing. Well, we loved reading your first novel, and we will definitely keep an eye out for anything else that you might publish in the future, and hopefully our listeners will as well.
Thank you so much to Chérissa Iradukunda for joining us for this interview and providing her insights into the experience of being a young female transnational writer in today's world. For listeners interested in reading her book, Broken Object, it can be purchased online through Austin Macauley Publishers and bookstores near you.
This podcast is powered by the European Union and the Central European University Library.